Hanumatan, supposedly the last Guardian raid of tier 3 and arguably the hardest Guardian fight as of late. Today I'll be showing you how you can beat the Guardian on solo and its core mechanics. I will also have the build I am running on screen and a link to my Loa character information in the description below. Alright, let's talk about boss mechanics. Hanumatan has 4 phases in total, 3 of which require different combinations of countering, impairment, and destruction to break its armor. Not breaking its armor results in a more gruesome fight with attacks that can easily kill you. Here is an image of Hanumatan and his armor spots. Phase 1 focuses on his feet, Phase 2 his head, and Phase 3 his hands. Breaking his armor also stops him from using special attacks such as his feet stomp in Phase 1, lasers in Phase 2, and uppercut in Phase 3. During the fight with Hanumatan, you will also get a buff that increases critical rate by 1% and damage taken by 1.25%. Hitting the boss gives you 1 stack and getting hit removes 5 per attack. Once you have 40 stacks, it further amplifies your stats, most notably the cooldown reduction as seen in the image. We have now covered majority of Hanu's mechanics and will be getting into the actual gameplay. When going up against Hanumatan, it is ideal to stay 1 meter away in between his attacks and running clockwise or towards his right arm. As for battle items, I will be bringing Pheromone, Flare, and Health Potions. Scarecrow is optional, giving a brief damage window. You can also bring Whirlwind Bombs for extra impairment and Destruction Bombs for his armor. In my case, I replace Atomic Arrow, which gives impairment and 6% damage increase, for Claymore Mine to make up for the lost destruction. Alright, Phase 1. At the start of this phase, always be ready to use your movement ability as Hanu can use his Teleport or Feet Stomp, and both moves do a huge amount of damage that you would ideally want to avoid. As you just saw, Hanu's right arm glows blue, followed by a forward punch. This tracks your character and happens twice. To avoid it, simply step out of range like so, or run clockwise around his body. Hanu's feet stomp attack is easily avoidable as he always starts with his left foot and comes out in a cone shape. That was Hanumatan's first armor break pattern for Phase 1. Hanumatan will cast an AoE stomp around him, followed by a ground explosion on the outer ring. Upon breaking the counter, the player has 4 or 5 seconds to break his armor. Not doing so would mean that you missed a chance and you would have to slow down your DPS in order for another counter pattern to appear so that you can destroy his armor again. Now, with his legs broken, the boss will only be able to use its base attack moves, all of which are present from Phase 1 till 3. So, I will discuss how to position for them while still being able to throw out damage. When Hanumatan raises his hands up, he will prepare to charge to the targeted location your character was at and do a series of punches. So to evade this, you need to be constantly moving, especially during its animation. The forward swing Hanu just did is a 3-part combo attack. Getting hit by one will result in another swing leading up to a total of 3 punches. Avoiding the first hit is crucial as it staggers the character and you might not be able to evade the last 2. Okay, this is the final mechanic of phase 1. You need to impair the boss while he randomly stomps on the ground in 3 different directions. Usually his safe spot is at the backside, and you are likely to impair him before a second or a third attack comes out. Okay, now for phase 2. Same as 1, he will have special attacks until we break his armor. Then for this phase, he will mainly be using laser beams and energy balls. When Hanumatan turns into a cloud, 4 monkeys will appear in a square shape and they shoot lasers either in a cross shape or a square shape. After the laser ends, Hanumatan will teleport behind the targeted player and unleash 1 or 2 laser beams. Alright, this is his energy ball attack. Hanumatan will spawn 4 monkeys that fire energy balls towards him while he fires forward. Okay, that part was crucial. Hanumatan will enter his counter phase as he throws the ball up into the air. Players have to avoid any sort of impairment moves during this time or it cancels his impairment. Doing so will drop the huge ball on everyone, which almost always one-shots you, unless you are overgeared or manage to escape its AoE. Alright, this is the final mechanic of phase 2. Hanumatan will punch his fist into the ground, causing tremors vertically and horizontally of where he is facing. Additionally, there will be laser beams which fire from both his front and back, turning in a clockwise motion. The player needs to impair and then counter while all this is happening. In phase 3, Hanu's attacks will mainly be with his hands. He has an uppercut move which launches the player into the air, followed by a ground slam which is guaranteed to hit if the player does not have the escape skill. The most notable attack will be his grab. In solo, if you get grabbed by Hanumatan, it's almost always a death. Alright, as you just saw, that was his grab move and the animations that led to it. It is extremely easy to dodge as long as you are not greeding for damage. The crisscross tremors can happen between 2 to 3 times and rotate as well at random. Trying to do damage here is fine as long as you dodge the attack if it rotates. I made the mistake of trying to greed for damage here, and as you can see, I almost died and lost a good amount of stacks as well. It is never worth it to go for greedy damage in Hanumatan due to how fast paced his attacks are, so just play the fight safe and you'll be fine. Okay. Here comes his counter move. After 5 swings, he will enter a counter phase and then the destruction one. You won't get a second chance to break his armor like in phase 1 and 2, so make sure you break it on the first counter. After it breaks, you have a few moments of free damage before he phases into his final form. He will unleash a wide AoE around him, followed by a punch into the ground that snares the player. The snare does a good amount of damage and the only way to avoid it is outranging him like so. Now, before we go into phase 4, I want to provide context on what the boss actually did when we ran out of its vision. And what would happen if we failed to break an armor piece? In a situation where you won't have your counter up, run far away and do not stand in front or behind the boss. Failing to counter here will cause him to shoot a fire or ice beam in a straight line. And if Hanumatan has any pieces of armor remaining, he will do a follow-up white AoE attack of fire and ice. After dodging all the attacks, you can choose to stay far away or stick directly beside him as he begins his transformation into phase 4. Here you can choose to either take the damage from the snare or run away like I did. If you choose to run away, it has to be fast, as shortly after transforming, he inflicts a slow debuff and silences you, thus forcing you to take the snare. Also, if I am not mistaken, if Hanu's gloves are not broken, he will also be able to grab you during phase 4, and as you can see, it didn't go very well. Right, with that out of the way, let's get back to looking at phase 4. Hanumatan's attacks in phase 4 are completely different from 1 to 3. His attacks become much more brawler based along with 2 or 3 simple gimmicks. This is the best gimmick you can get during phase 4, all you have to do is stand in the green circle and do damage whenever possible. This is the exact same move he does when phasing from 3 to 4. These safe spots are directly under and beside him, or you can run far away. His right swing has a very obvious animation. You can dodge it easily by waiting for the swing first and then dashing back in to safety. And there we go, this concludes the full encounter for Hanumatan. This was my first video guide on a Guardian raid, however I do have more planned for release which include bosses like Dark Yoho, Carl Eligos, and much more. So if you do enjoy this sort of content, do consider subscribing to the channel. And lastly, thank you all for watching, I'll see you next time.